Dexamethasone, is this the ideal drug to beat coronavirus? The new PHE report for BAM communities, what does it really mean? The idea of actually adding DFID and the Foreign Office together, what does that mean as well? And Marcus Rashford. All this and more on The Voice of London. I'm so pleased today to be joined by Buki Olafami, the wonderful broadcaster, radio broadcaster and journalist, and the wonderful Michael Spooner, who is no doubt going to give us his views as well. He's one of the top entrepreneurs in Britain and talks about business affairs.
Thank you, Ian.
So, dexamethasone. It's taken me all week to practice that in the first place. I thought, I'm never going to get this right today.
Yes.
Why do they produce a name like that?
Yes,
Why can't they call it Dexy Midnight Runners? That's a name from the past.
That's right. Go back
Anything, but dexamethasone is a word all of its own. What do you think, the two of you, on, does this become a life-saving drug? Or is it just part of really helping people right now to overcome these problems? Michael, what do you think first?
Well, Ian, you know, this is a common drug. Back in the 1960s, it was developed or became common. It's gone all over the world. It's very cheap. It's generally available in the Middle East, Africa, South America, you know, and obviously Europe and so on, and even in China. So it's a very well-developed drug. So this is a massive, major step forward in CV-19 attacking this virus. Remember, Ian, it only can be used for people that needed ventilation or the oxygen-based support. So it's not something that we can all take, and it's not a protection against the virus, but it can be used if you're in ICU, and it's something that can really limit the impact of this virus. And of course, we know, Ian, the virus attacks Black and Asian minority ethnic communities disproportionately. We still don't know why that is the case. We've got lots of views, and I'm sure Buki's going to come up, may have a few views about why.
We're going to talk about that
but
in a minute.
It has a big impact and so on. So no, this is a major step forward. It's very cheap. It can be distributed around the world. And I'm sure many medical people listening to our show today will say, and they will nod in their heads saying, it's a game changer.
And I think, I mean, you're not from a personal medical background, but your family is.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
it must be a worry for you when you see your family who are doctors still coming in really in frontline terms, you know, with this virus as well. You know, and so anything like this presumably will help to just drop the fear down a bit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what's great about it is that the drug itself, it's affordable, and the fact that it's affordable means that we have access to it, and you know, it just really, I think it is a game changer, and it just really helps to make a difference. No, it doesn't prevent COVID in itself, but it can help to treat it. You know, as we know that it helps to reduce inflammatory in the lungs, so having that on board, I think it really helps on the fight against it and managing it.
And I think it's so important, and we move on from that because I mean, the thing that surprised me before we move on, is that the NHS was able to do 6,000 trials of this, and it worked.
Yes.
And they found something that has worked. So as we all applaud the NHS
Yes,
for
yes.
everything that they're doing,
Yeah.
to be able to
Definitely.
do something like this within that such short space of time,
Yeah.
I think that
Incredible.
both of you will agree, as
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, that's
It's good.
amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
It's amazing to be able to sort of, do things like this, and
Yeah.
it just shows, that we are able to do this. Now, we move on from this. Words fail me at times with this government. Words
Yes,
really
yes,
fail me at times
yes.
with this government. And I think a couple of weeks ago, the public health report came out. And in reality, as we hear it now, a lot of the issues regarding BAME were covered up.
Yeah.
They weren't
Yeah.
even put out in the report. They were
Yeah.
saying more was to follow.
Yeah.
And when I look at the observations that have come out in this report, so I've listed them down.
Yeah.
So they're talking about living in urban deprived areas,
Yeah.
overcrowding in housing,
Yeah.
working in high-risk frontline but low-paid jobs,
Yes.
such as the healthcare and in transport, where Central and West African people living in Britain are 4 times more likely to actually get this virus.
Yes.
They're saying in the report that perhaps dietary consideration, obesity may be part of this
Yeah.
issue. One of the most important things that it sounds obvious until you get into a virus like this is that the messaging that went out was only in English.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So areas, like Asians, perhaps some African states and so forth, who live in this country, whose English may not
Yeah.
be the best, did not get the information in the first place. So, how's that going to change? I think one of the most important things is that because people of colour are in frontline situations, they must receive much better PPE. The public protection equipment in the first place. And they're also saying that there's a 21% extra risk with people having diabetes who are on CV death certificates right now.
Yeah.
Because there's, the views at the moment is that 44,000 people have died now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
But what the Office of National Statistics are saying, over and above that figure, the figure that is unexpected deaths against the norm for this
Yes.
period is up to 64,000,
Yes,
it's
that's
20,000
right.
more.
Yeah.
Which may be CV related at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm sure you've got a lot to say about all of this. I mean, for me, I cannot believe how badly we have actually looked at this type of situation in this country. And it's almost like they've thrown frontline people into
Yes.
Yep.
the affray.
Yeah.
We know at the start that a lot of the PPE was out of date and they just put another label over the
That's
top.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how effective was it? People have died because of it.
Yeah.
The report from the professor last week to the Commons Committee saying that if we'd gone down into lockdown
Yeah.
1 week before, half of the deaths
Yeah.
that have happened now
Yes.
would have happened.
Yeah.
So Buki, to start off with, how do you feel? Because do you feel angry that this report has only come out now? Do you feel as if nothing is ever going to change? How do you personally feel at the moment?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a letdown really, because at the start I think we responded to the crisis way too late. We went into lockdown way too late. There was people hanging around waiting a decision whether there was going to be a lockdown. I just think it was all too little too late. I think we could have saved a lot of lives if we had responded a lot earlier. We have found out that it is COVID-19, it does affect it affects a lot more minority groups, and you can find that a lot of these people in the Black and Asian community, they are affected because they do work in labourer roles. They are on the front line. They are the nurses, the doctors, the lorry drivers, the postmen, the bus drivers, and unfortunately they weren't. the PPE that they did need wasn't given to a lot of them.
And of course as well, so I just continue for a second with Buki, a lot of the frontline doctors were black who have died.
Yeah.
Does that make you feel angry? It makes me feel angry.
Yeah.
It makes me feel, how do you feel?
I think knowing how serious the situation was, the fact that there was this whole discussion about PPE, that for me should have been sorted from the get-go. We should have been prepared for it from the get-go. I think we were more dealing with the after effects of what was going on and trying to catch up instead of having it managed in the first place to reduce the deaths that we found. Yeah.
Michael, how do you feel? Because you know, the two of us have probably seen other epidemics come through in our time as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen personally such complacency by a government.
Yeah. I think there will be a post-mortem inquiry at the end of it. Probably not today is the time to do that, but maybe next year or the year after, we will be looking back at this delay in lockdown, the kind of incompetence of the government in
but the reality is they get away with it then.
Yes,
they get away with it.
They may well get away with it. Well, no, you're right. I mean, they may well get away with it at the moment, and it's up to the British people to assess and judge and evaluate as part of the democratic process, I suppose. But I mean, I have no one way or the other with the government. I want the government to be competent and do its job. I didn't vote for them, but I want them to do their job really well. Yeah. And they're not necessarily doing that very well. But you know, this whole crisis is where the government has delayed in looking at the international evidence, looking at the impact. Of course, a lot of the Black and Asian people, the nature of the jobs that we tend to do, the economic deprivation, the issues around housing, the fact that we live in slightly bigger households in terms of household density, which obviously is going to spread the virus. So there's lots of stuff that we already know, and you've got this racial equality, disparity type evidence. The data is all there, Ian. We know the way in which these discrimination and vulnerability works in terms of ethnicity. The government knows this, that what they need to do is do some action, do some work, take things forward to try and
get a grip.
You get a grip of this situation and do something.
Is how I see it at the moment. I mean, I think the government's got to get a grip. You know,
Yes,
I think the reality right now is we're seeing more and more and more of flip-flop situations happening where something happens and it's like a knee-jerk reaction.
Yes,
we're going to talk about Marcus Rashford in a minute. And the reality was it's a knee-jerk reaction to him. They didn't expect it, you know. And I think this government seeks popularity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, I don't think the methods that they're using at the moment seem to have any common sense to them. They just seem to be reacting rather than really sort of looking at the situation and dealing with it properly.
Yes, that's true.
You know, I mean, it moves us on to our next subject. And I was listening to Boris Johnson's report yesterday on how he's going to merge the FCO and DFID. And up till now, the reality has been that they have worked in tandem. But in reality, the FCO hasn't really been able to influence how money is spent in order to get perhaps more trade or more favourable opportunities for this country. For me, I look at something like this and I think the reality is when this happens, what can happen now is now DFID FCO can go to a country and say, we give you 350 million. Unless you give us your assets in trade, you're not going to get that money anymore. What's going to stop them doing that? What's going to stop them doing it? And how do you feel? I mean, because you are a citizen of this country, but you obviously have relatives, you know, overseas as well. How, Bookie, how do you feel about what on earth are we doing in Britain at the moment?
Honestly, it's just, I think it's a terrible way to manage the situation, because then you're saying it forces people to give you something in return for that, and it's just, it means that it's really forcing them to trade with them and to do things on their terms, and the
It's
two
bullying,
should not be.
isn't it?
It is.
Let's
That's the
call
word.
it. Let's just call it what it is. It's bullying.
Yeah, that's it. And you know, and when you're doing things like that, it becomes, you know, problems are going to arise, you know, because it's really controlling the situation and getting what you want from somebody by making them do that in those terms.
And for me, where is the value in a government globally? You know, I mean, because we talk about dictatorships, we talk about the Chinese bullying their communities. And what are we doing ourselves? You know, we're creating a same control system, you know, for people who, countries especially, who need our help, but who now may be told, well, you know, you're only going to get our help if you do X, Y, and Z. I think that's deplorable. Michael, what do you think?
Well, look, Ian, we have the, I'll try and link 2 or 3 things together. We have the Black Lives Matter protests around the world. We have the recent statue interface type protests where people are identifying slave and colonization and imperial statues, people that had bad passes, and we want to bring them down, whether it's Mr. Rhodes or Clive of India or whatever. All the statues that we have many of them in this country, about 60 or 80 of them, that need to come down. Now, this colonial stuff, Ian, this behavior that we had 350 years of slavery that we did, when you're talking about that kind of flow into, say, Africa or South America or all over the world, that we, you know, put forward our kind of stuff. My view is that Britain needs to. I want reparations. I want atonement. I want some kind of response from our government around this kind of issue.
I totally agree, because
I really do want us to have. This is a moment in history, Ian, where we are as people that care about all ethnicities, black and white, all people from backgrounds, you know, diversity from all people. I care about everybody, but at this moment is about black and Asian people making a stand and trying to work with Britain and work with the British people and work with the government on trying to move the dial somewhere else to where it is. You know, so my response is a bit different to what you expect.
I think the reality at the moment is, for me, we are now with a government that I think has been caught out so many times with the inaccuracies of their sound bites. I think now we're looking at people who are prepared to bully rather than to support. And do I want to have a Britain like that? No, I don't. I think it's time to speak out. You know, I mean, I look at the Black Lives Matter, and I can understand the statues situation. I'm not sure it's the best way forward. But I've noticed that the Church of England is very silent.
Yes, of course.
And if memory serves me correctly, the largest personal group of slave owners in Britain were people from the cloth.
Yes, that's right.
Who increased their income by having slaves in the West Indies.
Exactly.
That's right.
So, you know, I understand the anger. But I want to have the two of you on this show each week. Really, and it's my way of listening to what you're saying on BAME Matters, but you're just people as well.
That's right.
You are citizens of this country who have views on everything.
That's right.
And it's irrelevant the colour of your skin, it's irrelevant religion, circumstances. What is relevant is you're two highly intelligent people who've got really good views and who want to change things, like myself.
That's right. Yeah.
So I think it's very, very important at the moment
That's right.
that we start sort of sharing things like this,
Yeah.
not just seeing it as a Black Lives Matter
No.
situation, but just of saying we can all work together
Yeah.
to create issues. What I'm seeing at the moment with the government is that it almost splits people up again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You know, with all the different things that are happening right now, and as I say, you know, when I listen to things like the idea of bringing DFID in,
yes.
you know, and the purpose was what, to make it more
Yes.
efficient.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
yes,
it's not.
Yes.
No,
That's
No,
right.
it's not. Call it what it is. It's
Yeah.
bullying,
Yeah.
Mr.
Yeah.
Johnson. It's
Yeah.
bullying
Yes.
governments. It's
Yeah.
bullying countries who
Yeah.
can't
That's
afford to resist the bullying.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
that's my
Yes.
reaction to
It's-
this.
It's the way we used to do it. It's back in the day, 300 years.
You know-
You're making everything a transaction
So
between
on
between
one hand,
trade
on
and
one
development.
hand, he's talking about he supports Black Lives Matter,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then he's going back
Yeah.
300 years
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
starting to do the same thing
Same
from the
thing.
government.
Yeah, it's the East India Company
Yeah.
and the Royal Africa Company all over again. It's the same method. It's transactional. You say, we'll trade with you, or we'll take your
Yeah.
slaves, or we'll take your produce, or we'll take your minerals in exchange for something else. I mean, it's this transactional behavior that we need to stop in this country. If you're going to do it fairly, if you're going to do it in a balanced way, World Trade Organization rules, if you're going to do it with human rights and balance it all out, it will work, Ian. It will be fine, and it will benefit us, and it will benefit them. But there needs to be mutual benefit in our transactions. And the question is whether this arrangement, it is going to save money because the economy's dropped, and
No, but
0.7% of GDP.
I
Yes.
think, I mean,
It's
and
whether they're
I
gonna
hear what
do
you're
it.
saying, but I think in reality, it's just down to they have failed in so
Yes,
many ways.
yes,
This
yes,
government already. Call it what it is.
Yes, that's
it's
what it is.
a government that at the moment is not governing
Yes,
properly.
that's right.
It
Yes.
makes me feel angry
Yes, it
to
does,
call myself
yes.
a British citizen
Yes,
when I
yes,
watch people like
yes.
Boris Johnson feel
Yeah.
as if he can bluster and
Yes.
bluff his way
Yeah, he is fake.
through what's happening
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
You know, and
Yes.
you know, I've worked with the Conservative Party. I've worked with all parties.
Yes, that's
I'm non-political,
Yeah, yeah.
but I am proud British alongside the
course.
two of you.
Yes,
as
we
well.
are.
Yeah.
Well, we
You
are
know,
as well.
and it angers me, and I think in reality, perhaps an issue like this DFID thing is something that the Black Lives Matter campaign should pick up.
Yes, yes, yes.
Because it's not only going to affect people in this country, it's going to affect people who
All over.
they may have relatives
All over the world.
in other countries overseas.
Yeah,
it's going to
exactly.
affect them.
Yeah.
Of course.
You know, and it's about time we started shouting
Yes,
out and telling
yes.
this government,
Yes.
stop all of this.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Stop all of it.
Yeah.
I
feel
agree.
very, very passionate about that.
I agree
indeed.
with you. Yeah.
And finally, today we talk about Marcus Rashford. Look what
Oh,
he's
yes.
done.
Yes. Now,
Oh,
I'm not a bookie. Are you a football? You're not a football fan, are you? Do you like football?
I'm not. I don't support.
I'm
I
not.
watch when we have the World Cup.
Yeah.
But honestly, what he's doing, Ian,
Yeah,
is
no.
absolutely amazing.
and
Absolutely
it
amazing.
just goes to show, you know, I mean, all this about they do all these things.
Yeah.
They creep around.
Yeah.
But as soon as they are taken to task,
Yeah.
they're like bullies. They
Yeah.
go back into the shadows again.
Yeah.
They, you know, and they say, you know, it's not me, Gov. And
Yeah.
you know, quite honestly, it was a difference of 60 odd million to actually create these vouchers for
Yes.
these children
Yeah.
during
Yes.
the summer.
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
64 million was already there, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
An extra 60 million
Yes.
compared to where we are at the moment of 300 billion.
Yes.
You know, that
Yeah.
we're spending on other things
Yes.
because we were so late.
Yes.
Let's call it what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
You know,
right.
we wouldn't be spending all this money now.
If we had done our
If
job
we, I
before.
mean, in 2016, the Cirrus report that that came out stated we were in a bad state and it had to be done. And what did the government do? Zero.
Yeah.
That's
Cool.
right.
Zero.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it is time now, I think, for British people to start sort of saying, what are you really doing?
Yes, yes. So this young footballer, we got to commend him in his. All right, he's used his celebrity football status to, move the dial a bit and move things on.
But initially, it was rejected.
Precisely.
Initially, it was rejected. So
Yeah.
it's just so good to see how he's persistent he's been about the matter, and people have really gone back behind it. And because of that, the government had to take another look at it, and it was finally agreed. And it's just amazing to see what just having a cause, having a vision, and really being passionate about what he believes that children should be afforded. So I just think it's brilliant what he's done, honestly.
And he's going to be starting to do more.
Yes.
And so they must start fearing him. Now, you watch
Yes,
it, it'll be
that's
OBE next.
Oh,
it'll be anything to keep him quiet.
They'll lock him into the system, don't worry. Don't worry, I get locked in.
It'll be Sir Marcus.
Sir Marcus, and he'll have to cut his thumb and sign with blood.
And we laugh about it, but
he'll be all right.
my God, doesn't this just show again the value of people of colour in this country?
That's right.
Yeah, honestly.
Yes.
Shouldn't we all be proud,
Exactly.
as I am proud of what he has done?
Yes.
I'm proud that you're here today.
Yeah.
I really am, because I think it is so important now that we create a country as we come out of this crisis that is going to be fair to people.
Yeah.
It's going to be level playing fields for people. And it's going to be a positive future as well.
Yes,
I don't want to hear about bullying.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about mismanagement of government because they had another political agenda on their minds.
Yeah.
I mean, I was listening this week. As you know, I do another show, and we were talking about one of the people from the RSG, the research group.
Yeah.
And he was asked about, they were talking about business this week, and that if we have a no deal, this could be happening right now.
That's cool. Yeah.
How would he feel about having a no deal for business? And his response was 17.4 million people voted for Brexit. That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
So in reality, business, in his eyes, could go to the wall.
Yeah, that's right. See, so this is the problem we have. Well, look,
We have problems right now.
We got in the next 6 months, we're going to be potentially, we'll be leaving the European Union in terms of the transition period will come to an end. We're going to be, we don't know potentially if we're going to have a trade deal with Europe.
Yeah.
He's also trying to equidistance with America. So he's trying to play America off with Europe, Europe off with America in terms of this trade deal. We may leave actually on the 1st of January 2021 with a WTO no deal. It's possible at this moment because we've got another month until we have to make a decision. So we are in perilous times in terms of, we've got the CV-19 economic crisis, we've got the trade deal, which is not doing too well. We got this conversation with Mr. Trump and his dubious trade relationship with this country. We don't know how that's going to go. The agricultural sector, Ian, is not particularly happy with it and quite worried. So we are in interesting times.
And we're seeing things like price rise. Do you
Yes,
know what?
food's going to go through the roof.
I mean, prices
Yes.
already. I do my
Food
shopping
prices.
each week, and I look at the price of milk now.
Yes, it will
the
go
price
up.
of milk has gone up
Oh, it will do.
75%.
Milk,
Yeah.
milk and bread. You go for the basic staples, milk and bread.
Yeah.
When those prices go up, that's going to hit households all over. 30 million households in this country will get hit.
Great. So finally, because I can see the producer banging on the wind. Wind up. Not really.
They're talking too much.
I'm doing this metaphorically. Let's start, or let's finish, I should say, with a final positive note. So,
Yes.
can I start with you, Michael?
Yeah.
What one thing would you like to see happen in the next week?
Right. One thing I want to see happen in the next week, I want the government to open up we're going to have the 4th of July, get the hospitality sector open. I want him to reduce the social distant to 1 metre or 1 metre. I want that to be announced. I want him to ask all the other shops to go back. And I want him to speak the truth to the British people and give confidence and renew trust in the government, because I think trust in the government has been broken, and that's going to have long run repercussions.
Excellent.
For British people.
What do you hope for next week?
To be honest, I think really it's just for just a bit more discourse in everything that's everything that's going on. For things not to be just covered, so for us to have an understanding on what's going on. For even with Brexit, it's been on the back burner for a while. We haven't really heard much about that, but it still affects, how we trade and how we do things. So I'm hoping that we can get there will be a positive outcome on that front, so we can think about moving forwards.
Yeah. And for me, folks, personally, I just want one thought. Government, tell the truth. Simple as that. For goodness sake, at long last, tell the truth, so that in reality, we know where we are in this country, because I think that is what British people really want.
Yes.
They don't want this indecision going on anymore. Tell the truth. If they've made mistakes, I think we would even accept the mistakes, because it's exceptional times.
It's okay.
But don't keep on saying flip-flopping away with every excuse under the sun, because it makes you look weak. And remember, I work with other channels across the world. The reality is, it's making us look very, very weak now in the eyes of the world at the same time. So, Buki, bless your heart. Thank you so much for coming. Michael, as always, such a great person to actually have on the show.
Okay, sir.
So, for me, Ian Pelham Turner on ALB UK Television and positivebritain.co.uk, the Voice of London show, I hope this has given you an insight into really how we can all come together and talk about issues that are really important for British citizens, irrespective of colour. So have a great day, and I'll have another show for you tomorrow. Take care. Thank you so much for watching.